is alenajingle from Formspring. I'm just playing my ukulele on the beach over here, no big. I'm entering Erindwiy's contest. She just said, talk about your favorite baby names. That's easy for me because I'm obsessed with names. Okay, first I'm going to tell you what my top 3 from boys and girls are and why I like them, and then what some of my old combos were, my old top combos. First one is Keturah Violet. I discovered the name Keturah after reading a book entitled Keturah several years ago, and I just thought it was really beautiful, and then I found that it was a biblical name, and I love biblical names. So, and then Violet has been my favorite girl's name since I was like 13. It wasn't first name for a long time on my list, but it's too popular for me to want to use as a first name. If it goes down in popularity or it doesn't get any higher, I will probably switch it back to a first name. But so Keturah Violet. My second favorite girl name is Brenna Ruth. Brenna means raven in Welsh, or Irish. And that's relevant to me because I've got the dark hair and it's not as in your face as just calling her Raven. Plus I think Brenna's a beautiful name. Ruth has been one of my favorite girl names since I was a little girl. I just think it's really beautiful and it means friend, which is awesome. And it's also my husband's grandma's name, so he wants to use that as a middle name, but I would be willing to use it as a first name. But my third favorite girl name is Rosamund Fern. Rosamund is another name that I fell in love with after reading a book where the kind of damsel of distress type character's name was Rosamund, and she was a really beautiful lady, and that's just who I picture with that name. And Fern would be after my husband's grandpa, Vern. He was really close to his grandpa, but Vern is not a very nice name, and I think Fern is adorable. So Rosamund Fern. My top 3 boy names. First one is Thomas Clinton. Thomas is after my grandpa Tom, and it's also my dad's middle name. His name is Jason Thomas. And Clinton is after my friend Clint, who was killed in a car accident last year. I have a feeling a bunch of my friends will probably use the name Clint or Clinton, but that's okay because he was a really awesome person. My second favorite name is Simon Jude. These are just both biblical names that I really love, that I think are adorable, and I love how they sound together. My third one is Reuben Amadeus. Amadeus is definitely my most out there name for the boys. Reuben has been one of my favorite boy names for a long time. I think it's a really sweet sounding name, and you can call him Ben or Rue or Rube or whatever. It has lots of cute nicknames. Amadeus is just a really gorgeous name, and it means love of God or loved by God, which is an awesome meaning. And it's also a musical name, and I'm a musical person. That's like one of the few things I can do well. So Reuben Amadeus is my third one. Now I'm going to go through, because my top names, they don't change as often as most people's do on Formspring, but they have changed some over the years, so I'm going to go through them. Keturah Violet is my Keturah combo right now. And when I first started liking that name, it was Keturah Eden, and I still think Keturah Eden's a beautiful name. However, now that I'm married, Keturah Eden Ingle does not sound good, so Eden cannot be used for me. And then my combo forever when Violet was still a first name was Keturah Eleanor, which I like that name because my husband's other grandma's name is Nora, so it could be after her, but he never liked Eleanor, and now that Violet's a middle name, I'm just going to call her Keturah Violet. But if I find out that Violet has gone down in popularity, the new Keturah combo will be Keturah Temperance. I've started loving the name Temperance. I do love virtue names, but a lot of them don't sound good with my last name, like Charity Ingle, Chastity Ingle, and then a lot of the other ones like Faith and Hope and Grace, those are too popular for me to use. So Keturah Temperance, and Temperance is a really good thing to have too as a virtue. For Violet, when I first started loving the name, it was about 8th grade, and Violet Audra was the combo. Audra is a family name. It's my great grandma's name. Her name's Audra Pearl, and my younger sister's middle name is Audra. And then it got switched to Violet Eloise, which my grandma's name is Lois, though she doesn't go by Lois. And so Eloise would be after her, and I think Violet Eloise is like the perfect combination. If I do switch Violet back to a first name, it'll probably be Violet Eloise. I've loved the name Ruth since I was a little girl. And so even though it's a middle name now, I loved it as a first name for a long time. And for some reason when I was a little girl, even though it's not quite as dated anymore, but when I was a kid it was really dated, I loved the name Judy. I don't know why. And so Ruth Judy was my favorite combo for that name up until pretty much I switched it to the middle name spot, which is really funny now because I wouldn't use Judy anymore. But Rosamund, I now have it as a first name, but it was a middle name for a long time because I just think it sounds really great as a middle name. And I had Alice Rosamund as my number 4 or 5 combo in my top 5 for a long time. And I do still love the name Alice. That's another name I've loved since I was a little girl. But my sister really likes that name, and if I can find any ways to help me narrow down my favorites, it's good. So, because I like a lot of names. And then it was Jane, Rosamund, and I do love the name Jane, like, because Jane Violet was another combo I considered at one point. But I just loved other names too. I would still probably have Jane up for consideration in the future. And then I had Lindley J. Rosamund, which is still what I have as my combo on Facebook, or for listography. And I do love the name Lindley, and I would kind of like to use the name J because that's my middle name. But I don't know. I'm just not, I still think it's a cool name, and I still like Lindley J. Rosamund, but I just don't know if I really want to use it. For Fern, I would only use it as a middle name. I do love the name Fern. I think it's precious, but I prefer it as a middle name. And even though right now I have Rosamund Fern as a combo, I would really prefer to have like a long girly name that ends with an A. And I love lots of long girly names. Some that I've considered are Cornelia Fern, calling her Nell as a nickname. Shanna Fern, which is what I have on my listography. I think Shanna's a beautiful name. But I love a lot more names. I love a lot of other girl names more than Shanna. So Lucinda Fern, and call her Lulu. I love the name Lucinda. And then Georgiana Fern. I love the name Georgiana. Like, I'm in love with that name. But Ronnie doesn't like it at all. It makes me so sad because a few years ago, one of my favorite combos, I forgot to mention this, was Georgie Samara. I love the name Samara too, but Rodney, that's another name he doesn't like. Just Georgie by itself, because I love Georgie as a nickname for a girl, which is weird, but for me, but I love Georgiana with the nickname Georgie. So, for Thomas, for a long time, it was actually Jason Thomas, which is my dad's name. But now I don't want to use Jason because my husband has a first cousin named Jason, so there would be 2 Jason Ingalls. And I just thought that would be a little weird for me to do. And then Thomas Joseph was a combination because Joseph is my other grandpa's name, except for I spelled it with an F because I don't like PH in names. Most people hate that I spell it with an F, but I think it looks cute, and like I said, I don't like PH. Like Serafina, I like that with an F way better than a PH, and same for Sophia. And then it was Thomas Knox for a long time, which I still think is a cool name. Knox is my husband's other grandpa's middle name. But now it's just Thomas Clinton. Simon has pretty much always been, well, no, it hasn't always been Simon Jude, because when I first started liking Simon, it was going to be Simon Brady. Brady is the middle name, because Brady was my maiden name. But Brady Ingle doesn't sound good, so not usable for me anymore. And then it was Simon Joseph, and now Joseph is completely taken out of the running because my cousin had twins last year and she used Joseph as a middle name. So, like I said, if I have any way to help me narrow down names, I always use it. I've loved the name Jude forever, and it's Simon Jude now, but for the longest time it was actually Reuben Jude. And I still think Reuben Jude is gorgeous, but it's Simon Jude. I'm pretty much never changing that combo. Before I found Amadeus and fell in love with it, I went through Reuben Joseph and just Reuben Jude pretty much. It was Reuben Joseph for a long time, but I'm loving Reuben Amadeus. Another name that I used to have as a middle name, well, actually for a first name for Joseph, was Cleavon, Cleavon. This is the only other person I've ever heard of named Cleavon as an actor from like the 70s, I think. His name's Cleavon Little. But it reminds me of the verses in the Bible that say, like, you know, you went to cleave to Jesus or whatever, you know, but Cleavon Ingle, once again, doesn't sound good. A lot of my names changed when I got married because it doesn't sound good with my last name. These are names that are not part of my top 6 at all anymore, but have been combos that have been in my top names in the past. First one is Mira J. I still love the name Mira and would consider using it, but I don't like Mira Fern. I just think it's too short. And Mira has really good meaning too. Since it's such a simple name, it has lots of different roots and different languages and cultures, and like one of the meanings is peace, one of them's prosperous, one of them's like wonderful and something like that. Another combo that I've had is Gemma Imogen, which I know is kind of a mouthful, but I still think it's kind of cute. But my husband doesn't like either of those names, unfortunately. Another one for boy is Haven J, and J would be after me, obviously, but and after my dad as well. I love Haven for a boy, but my husband hates it for a boy. My sister's being ridiculous in the background. Another name that I had to take off when I got married was Errol, Errol. I just think it's such a handsome name. And you picture the Errol Flynn. I know he wasn't the greatest guy, but he was just a, really dashing old-time actor. And the combo was Errol Rohan, and I love the name Rohan, but Ronnie didn't like it, and I think it's adorable. My last combo that I used to have in my top 10 that I had to take out because Ronnie doesn't like either of the names in it is Felon Klaus. And I used to think Felon was pronounced Fowlin, which I think is really cute too. But I just thought of such a handsome name, and I would still love to use the name Klaus, which is just a short form of Nicholas. I think it's adorable. Anyway, I've gone on forever. Sorry it took me so long to get this into you. Erin, thanks for holding the contest. I miss you from Formspring. Bye-bye.